Something needs to change eventually for the Arizona Cardinals. And I don't think that there is just one person to blame in this situation. I've been watching them all season, and I don't know what to say anymore. It starts at the very top with the Cardinals, and that is General Manager Steve Keim. He has done a lot, but not a lot of good. The drafting comes into question, the mistakes he's made, the players that he's picked over the players that were available. I mean, every time that this team plays against the Seattle Seahawks, it seems to be brought up that Andy Isabella was selected just a couple picks before DK Metcalf. Andy Isabella is now a practice squad player for the Baltimore Ravens, and it never worked out there. You've got other guys that are finally coming into their own on defense, the last two first-round picks in Isaiah Simmons and Zaven Collins. I'm really impressed by them, but then you look at the free agency moves and what he has done to surround Kyler. The O-line is awful. He has pretty much gotten the scraps, and some of the scraps have worked out well. Will Hernandez this season, I know he's been battling injury. It takes a lot for this offensive line to stay healthy, but Will Hernandez has been very good. He got the scraps with Billy Price, and I know that you can't put too much pressure on offensive linemen. They're coming into a situation that they're starting in. They're not coming from a situation that they've ever been put in that role and ever had to play that much football in a game. And not professionally, at least. Billy Price, that wasn't Keim's mistake, but I don't think he should have ever been signed. You've got guys like Kelvin Beachum and DJ Humphries, who are supposedly our two most consistent offensive linemen, but even then they have struggles. I know that this season isn't over, but something has to change. They have to shake something up. They have to send a message to the players that, they still care. And Michael Bidwell is being put on the spot, and he has to do that. You extend Kyler, you extend James Conner, you extend Kliff Kingsbury and Steve Keim this offseason. I only really think that one of those people should have been extended, and that is the person that has won at every level coming into the NFL. Kyler Murray was never a losing quarterback. You can make all the Call of Duty jokes that you want. They're not funny, but you can make them. But the bottom line is you can't doubt the fact that this guy is one of the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL. Just because he doesn't put it on paper each and every Sunday, and it doesn't show up in the stat lines, and he sometimes doesn't make the best decisions, he is still one of the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL. And I'm not blaming Kliff for it all, but it does line up perfectly well with the fact that Kyler Murray had won at every single level coming into the NFL, and now he's been stuck 4 years with Kliff Kingsbury, and it looks like they're heading for the exact same result once again. A slow start this season. I know you could argue injuries. They didn't have J.J. Watt to start the season. He never got going full, and he's a defensive leader. You're without Nuke for a long time, and that hurt, or a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. And when he's on the field, obviously the team is better. And we've seen that through the past 3 weeks with him having big games time after time. But there is a lot of disappointment with this group, and I don't know what the answer is. The defense will come out and they'll keep the team in the game, and then it's as soon as the offense does something that suddenly the defense can't get a stop. And that's been the trend all season. I give credit to Vance Joseph because he's running around trying to deal with a injured secondary, a young secondary, one that has corners that are starting almost every game in Marco Wilson and Byron Murphy Jr., who are still very new to the NFL, and I think that they've adjusted very well. It's the veterans in some stance and some situations that have not been performing so well. Antonio Hamilton has had a rough go since he's been back from IR. That secondary, they went out, they got Trayvon Mullen. He's done nothing. He's hardly played. When he has been healthy and dressed, he hasn't seen the field at all, not even on special teams. I don't know what you can say. Then you go out and midseason add Robbie Anderson to fill the void, per se, of Marquise Hollywood Brown, who was one of the best receivers in the league when he was healthy to start this season. And then Robbie Anderson isn't implemented into the game plan by Kliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray. When he does get a chance, he's dropping balls, and you see that with every team. Players who drop passes aren't going to see the field. We've only seen 3 weeks of Nuke. I hope that Kyler Murray can wake up, I guess you'd say, and be a little bit better. He'll have a couple drives per game that it's like, wow, this guy is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. And if he's playing like this all the time, surely the Cardinals' record would signify that. And he's only played that like that for 2 quarters back-to-back, and that was the second half against Vegas, and that was in week 2. We haven't seen it since. We've seen consistent struggles, having trouble beating teams like Carolina. The defense blew it open in the Thursday night game against the Saints, but you're still very much in a division that's winnable. But I'd rather see change this season than have it turned around. And I know that that is a crazy thing to say. Obviously, number one priority, if you can win games in the NFL, you win games, no matter who it's against. But you don't go 0-3 to start a season divisional and expect to be winning games and making a run. And that's all Kliff Kingsbury has been saying in press conferences throughout the week after games. He's like, we're getting there. We're making plays. We're just not stringing them together. We need to execute better. Maybe you need to make a better damn game plan, Kliff, because it's not working. You run 6 to 8 screen passes a game to Rondale Moore, who, if you haven't noticed by watching the Cardinals, he's only run about 10 routes that are outside like 10 yards of the line of scrimmage, and he's making big plays. He's one of the smartest, most flashiest players in the NFL, especially at the receiver position, and he's being used as a Deebo Samuel type player out of the backfield with the screen passes, all the motion, the trickery, but he's not actually being able to break the big plays like Deebo Samuel would. And you can make arguments that that's coming from not having blocking receivers or whatever. You draft a tight end in the second round to go along with Zach Ertz, who you have, who's one of the top in the league. And whenever you have them in, you're running it with James Conner, who's moving east to west. And I love Conner to death, but he's one of those guys that just hasn't been able to carry over the success from last season to this season. And I know injuries have plagued him, but if you want to salvage any part of the season, I don't think you can. I think it makes more sense for Michael Bidwell to fire Kliff Kingsbury and Steve Keim and move forward from there. Change has to happen, and it's embarrassing to watch a team that is the definition of insanity. You see it on a game-by-game basis. Kliff Kingsbury comes out during the week. Oh, we had a good week of practice. We're going to get new guys involved. We're going to have Robbie Anderson get more touches, Rondale Moore get more touches, get more looks for James Conner, get more looks for Keontae Ingram. And none of that has happened in a good way. And it all is just such a predictable offense, and one that you get what you deserve in this league. You get what you deserve in sports. And Arizona has gotten what they've deserved so far. Something has to be said, and I feel like Arizona Cardinals fans need to voice their displeasure, even if no one hears them, and just try to put the ball in Michael Bidwell's court and just hope and pray that change comes. And that's the only way that the Arizona Cardinals can move forward.